So picture this. Your mum's standing in the corner shop trying to buy something as you're like yay high, wanting to entertain yourself. So you look around and then right on the counter you see an entire spinning stack of Chupa Chups. Now, what do? You just decide to pick a flavour and be like, hey mum, can I have this? No. And you're like, but why? No, not today. Let's do a different image. Well, you're in the supermarket and you're running through all the aisles and you look and you finally found the confectionery aisle. Well, we call this differently everywhere. Could be sweets, could be confectionery, could be the candy aisle. But the main thing is you steamroll ahead and you go and look for the multi-pack and you find the multi-pack of Chupa Chups. Again, can I have this? No. But these are all memories that we can remember having. What I can say for sure is that we've all had a moment in our lives where we were looking at the sweets that we were eating and wishing that they could be 20,000 times larger so that we could eat as much as we wanted to and never run out. So the point of this video is kind of that. What happens when you make a gigantic lollipop? Let's find out. So just to give you the starting framework of what this project is, I had a styrofoam ball from a previous project and I didn't know what to do with it. So I was like, YOLO, let's make a massive lollipop. How do we make it interesting? Let's embroider the entire wrapper so that it's nice and ornate with traditional Ukrainian embroidery. I couldn't sleep, so I decided I'm gonna look at my project that I was doing yesterday. I'm gonna look at the maths and like figure out how much material I need so that, you know, I can just order it and have it, and then when I want to start it, I can start it. So I like calculated all my dimensions. Then I came to actually looking at the measurement of the material that I need for this project. Now, I had calculated this material at the very start of me doing it yesterday. The first step was for me to calculate how big this fit is so I can calculate what the wrapper size should be, and then that dictated me last night doing the pattern literally all night. And I thought I finished it, like literally yesterday I finished it, like I had all the colorways and I was like, okay cool, I already have the plan set in stone, like I'm ready. I'm not ready because so what happened was I measured a quarter of the sphere thinking it was a half. Like look, don't even ask me what the fuck I was thinking because I was tired already yesterday. It was a long day. I should have like clocked it right then, because how does that even make sense? It will like, I just don't even know. So this is fun because now everything that I did yesterday is basically redundant apart from like, okay, the only thing that's not redundant is me figuring out the color scheme and the pattern that I'm using. But everything else, like my entire plan that I did, that took me, I'm like not even joking, 4 or 5 hours, gone. But note to self and everyone, don't do projects that require maths when you're tired, or do it twice. Like, you know what they say, do it twice and don't mess up? Yeah, I never fucking learn. So now I have all my fabric laid out. I have marked where I'm going to cut, but before I cut it, I am going to dye it with some lovely pink India ink mixed with some water. I don't know if this is a good ratio yet. I will find out in a minute. Let us go. So the material I'm using for this, I have to look at to read it because I can't get it off the top of my head, is a Svegart 7-count rug canvas, which I dyed with India ink. And it's partially pink and partially orange because the orange part is for a future project, which I finished already, which is my orange. As I have learned that I can't use Uhu glue, I also can't use super glue because it eats away at the foam. So yay. So now we're gonna go for tape because it's gonna be covered by material anyway, so let's do that. Sort of contained. Now I'm just gonna duct tape the whole center. So that is our sphere. I have got my science project done. So at this stage, to actually begin embroidering, I need to find the center point on the X and the Y axis. So you just see me counting my stitches at this point here because I need to figure it out quick. And although I was quite excited for this project, I did realise that it was going to be a lot of work. Having used my embroidery hoop for my previous project, Cherries, which is on my YouTube if you would like to watch it, I knew that this was going to take forever because of how small the space I had to embroider on was. This made me procrastinate the start of this project a lot more and consistently because I knew. And even here in this clip, you can see me struggling to put in the first stitch and how long it took. So let's actually take a minute to look at the timeline. January, conception of the project. February, we're looking at the planning of the project. And then March through May, I start vaguely embroidering. And I say vaguely because I really didn't want to embroider. Like, it was driving me absolutely crazy. So June and July came around and I had an excuse. I went on holiday. How could I do the project? And then August, I was like, well, I just came back from holiday. I need to get back into the working mindset. So I'm not going to do it for now. I'll give myself a break. Come September, and I then actually start to realize that I have no motivation for this project at all, and I really don't want to do it. And by October, I accepted the fact that I probably would never finish this project. So November and December, I didn't even try. I didn't even think about it. It was stowed away in my cupboard. And let's take a closer look into May, because this was the final time I would embroider in 2024. The next time I would pick up this project would be the start of 2025. And you know this was a long time ago because in the corner you can literally see the Ghibli headphones that I was painting at the time. And that was long ago.
6 months later!
And just like that, 6 months pass by and 2025 begins. January, I celebrate the new year, the entire month apparently. And February, I was gone again, out of the country. I didn't spend a lot of time in early 2025 doing anything creative or project-wise, so I don't even know what happened during March. By the end of April, motivation had struck, and I decided to embroider again. Now, a big factor for why I stopped embroidering was I was doing it so much that I was getting really bad neck, head, back pain, shoulder pain, and I know that's something that all embroiderers struggle with quite a lot, but what I decided to do to counteract this and to get me motivated to keep doing the project was to buy an embroidery hoop holder that attached to the table. It was like a hand, basically. This meant I could sit up straight and have a much easier time embroidering. And around this time, I also started uploading daily updates on my progress on TikTok, which meant that for once I could actually communicate with a community that did embroidery for fun or just in general. And thanks to that, some wonderful person came to my rescue.
Mate, get a scroll frame, preferably a lap one. You can then sew two-handed because you don't have to hold the hoop, and it speeds up the process so much on massive projects.
Well, Vlorpo, that's exactly what I did. So thank you to this commenter for letting me know that something like this actually existed. I ordered it and it has finally come in the mail. Let's put it together and see. I don't know. You know what? Now looking at it, ain't that big. Is this what 80 centimeters looks like? Did I get scammed? Okay, I was actually just stupid because they go together. Okay, I didn't realize that. This is how long that stick is. Now this looks more like 80 centimeters, doesn't it? So this what she look like. She's big. Now you would think with this newfound equipment and knowledge that I would get right onto embroidering straight away and getting busy. No, that didn't happen. I waited another 2 months to get back into embroidering. So now let's move into August, where my productivity actually flourished. But we are getting a little ahead of ourselves in this clip because this is towards the end of August. So let's just rewind and show you where I started off with the scroll frame. The biggest reason for there being such a large gap between the point of me getting the scroll frame and actually using the scroll frame is because once I got it, I was so nervous to actually have to force myself to do all of that embroidery. It sounds silly, but I kind of procrastinate the things that would help me do something quickly because I realize that I will have to put the work in. The other factor as well was that I didn't really understand how I was supposed to attach it to something. I saw people have their own methods of doing this and I couldn't figure anything out that worked for me until I realized that I had 2 massive clamps that I could just clamp the scroll frame to my table with. And ever since I realized that, I've never looked back. we've been steamrolling this project. Monumental moment. We have finished one section. We finished the first section of the scroll frame, so let's do the first reveal. Ta-da! Again, this is a big reality check because as much as that is, it is nothing compared to the full design. And I'm estimating, because this section, if I'm thinking about actual like months gone by, it's been 2 months of doing that section. So I'm estimating maybe another 4 months of stitching. I probably won't be done till like May, and that's because I'm going on a trip, so we'll see how this goes. But this is the current amount. We're officially moved on to the next section. We've moved it up to just finish the last bit of the dome until we move down to the bottom. I'm changing the angle just to, I don't know, spice it up a little bit because it's probably boring looking at the same angle consistently. It is the 3rd of October. We're coming to the end of the year and we're still here. So by this point, realizing just how long this project was going to take me kind of freaked me out, even though the amount of progress that I had made was more than like triple what I had originally started in the embroidery hoop. But at the same time, finally being able to move on to a separate section was such a moment of relief that I can't even explain it, to be honest. And to be fair, I'm going to say this early, but I was pretty damn accurate with my estimation in terms of how long this project would actually take for me to finish, and I was literally bang on the money. I have never been so bang on the money before. So as you saw, this section is really tiny compared to the first bit that I was doing, which meant that I got at least 1/3 of this piece done, and I got quite a bit of gratification from it. So here I am showing her off because she's gorgeous, and I'll be moving on to stretching the middle section onto the scroll frame. So with all of that set up and ready to go, the rest of my October was spent embroidering this middle section. Now, every single camera on screen is a representation of a day that I embroidered. Now, of course, each day was different amounts of time, but we were looking roughly anywhere from 2 hours to about 5. Now, this section did flood into November, which would be the last month that I would be embroidering of 2025. I have had to stop embroidery production because I have run out of orange thread. Now, the orange thread, I do need to dye it. So it is currently in the process of being dyed. So I can't do any more orange, which means I can't do any more yellow because it's just a little too difficult to get the placement correct. So I'm just going to be banging out the white for now. So by this point in November, I start talking to someone who has an exhibition in mind for next year. The deadline being around March. In my own estimations, I was finishing in May. And obviously that won't do. We need to speed this thing up. Damn it, I thought you could see the screen while I was typing, but clearly not. So with this new given deadline, I realized that I had to finish this section of the scroll frame before I left at the end of November, where I would only be back in February. Now, this was a sort of unrealistic expectation because this section was the densest in terms of stitch count. The other sections up above, I already partially did it from before on my embroidery hoop, and then the top also ended up tapering out because it was curved. But this entire section was dense from one end to the other end, and I also had to move it along in some instances so that I could finish the edges. So that means maximum amount of hours, maximum amount of time spent just sitting and embroidering, alongside me having to go to work and also prep myself to go away. I managed to finish all the embroidery by the 24th of November when I was flying out on the 29th. So thankfully, I still had some time for myself to pack and like do what I needed to do. But when I tell you that I was sitting in my room just exclusively embroidering every day for most of the day, I'm not kidding. I was such a recluse, more so than this project usually makes me. So today is November 24th, and this is the current update for my Chupa piece. So let's do the progress reveal, and that's just like that. So as you can see, we are getting very, very close to the end now. We just have that bottom bit left to go, but now it's actually starting to look like what it's supposed to look like, and I'm very happy. But there's still a crap ton of work to do, but I will continue this when I come back from my journeys and my travels, which will be in like 2.5 months. So I will take this back up in February. So it's gonna be a hot minute. Hi to future me and bye to current me. Let's go to February.
The new season is underway.
So now let's take a look at the 2026 game plan. I come back in February and my deadline is in March, which means that I have about a month exactly to get my project done and exhibited. As you can also see, there are a few more projects underway, which I will be making videos on, and they will be coming out in the next couple of months, so do stay tuned for those. Whilst the rest of the year I still have unplanned and I am unaware of what the hell I'm going to be doing. But let's take a look at February, where this year begins and how long it takes me to finish this. So I get back from my trip and I'm like, okay, Zoom, let's go do this. Let's finish this off. This section is not that big in comparison to the last one. We got this. But again, I'm here like slow-mindedly thinking everything's fine. We have plenty of time. I low-key forgot about that exhibition because I had spoken about it about 2 to 3 months ago. So I'm minding my business until I get a phone call. And she's like, hey, you know, you're still down to be doing it because we're starting to organize everything. And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, okay. And at this point, I'm also realizing that I don't really have a plan outside of the embroidery. So like the embroidery is not the final piece. I need to actually make a piece out of this fabric I've embroidered. And I had a vague idea before when I first began it, and that was I wanted to make it a lollipop. I want to make it a Chupa Chups. Obviously, I have the styrofoam ready and I bought a doweling. But, you know, other than that, I didn't actually know how I was going to put it together or how the hell it was even going to stand up. Was it like hung from the floor? No clue. And now that I'm having to think about this project a lot more further than just the embroidery, I start having discussions with friends, family, and my boyfriend about what it should look like. And I realized at this moment that the original doweling that I had bought over 2 years ago, a wooden one, 50mm, was just way too big for this. And I knew it at the time, I just didn't want to believe it. So I realized that I might have bought the doweling a little too thick. I think 50mm in diameter is a little too much. And then I was talking to my boyfriend and he said that why didn't I just go for a plastic pipe instead? I needed it to be a lollipop stick, which is why I could have just done it from the get-go. So I looked on B&Q and I went today to retrain on the laser cutter because they got a new machine, and I so happened to take the base piece that I needed to cut for the lollipop piece. So whilst I was in the area, I decided to go B&Q and get my big white pipe. I went for 40mm this time instead of 50. Should be better. So with that minor thing sorted, I could go back and focus on just embroidering. Again, I'm not really talking about the actual process of cross-stitching, just because it's so repetitive and it's very easy to find how to do that online. But if you do want a tutorial, I guess I could do one, but I won't say that I'm the cleanliest in embroidering at all. So today is the 4th of March and I officially have 22 days until my exhibition. I'm nearing the end, we're getting close. Well, we're nearing the end of the embroidery. I really don't know how long it's going to take me to assemble it. I'm hoping it's going to be quick, but I have a few things that I have to deal with. I've already sort of partially started. I'm going to go show you guys, well, I'm going to go get it to show you guys what the stand is going to look like. I know I literally look like mustard and ketchup, but it just is what it is, okay? Ignore the colorway. The color scheme is not. Even my hair, actually. But this, the base is just like an 8mm sheet of clear acrylic, which I've cut into a perfect rectangle, as you can see, with a hole in the center. And I'm going to use that as like the heavy point to weigh down the sculpture. This is a 2-meter long pipe. I'm gonna have to cut it, and it's gonna be, I don't even know, I'm probably gonna cut it halfway so it's a meter, so it's shorter than me, so there's space for the ball. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some new measurements of a literal Chupa Chups. So I'm actually done embroidering. I have all loose fabric left over around the edges that I've like glued so that it doesn't unravel whilst I'm embroidering. And it looks a bit ugly. So you see how the plastic wraps around the head here? So my idea is, should I wrap the fabric in the same way? Or if I should sew some nice white trim or like pink trim so that it would look more frilly and nice. Anyway, that's food for thought for later. Right now I need to focus on finishing it and then we can problem solve when we get there. So yeah, let's actually embroider. Pink. Okay, so this is now what I'm left with. Probably we're looking at roughly like 1.20 meters. The next thing that I'm going to do is, this is my styrofoam ball. So I'm just going to use that as the guide to where I'm going to draw the hole, and then I'm going to pierce it through so that the ball sits through the pipe. Look, these are very bootleg angles, and it's because I don't want to take off my embroidery setup. This is definitely a look of bowling. No, okay. So we're on the home stretch for this embroidery project, and having to do this so many days back to back, my eyeballs are like shattered, literally gone. I'm a bit concerned, okay? I'm thinking like I might not have to do another embroidery project for a while, but I'm gonna try a new thing. I've never heard of it, but my boyfriend told me about something called a 20-20-20 rule for people who maybe use like computers for too long, so they're trying to prevent eye strain. So I'm gonna try this 20-20-20 rule, which means every 20 minutes that you are on the computer, or in my case embroidering, you then take 20 seconds to look at something that's 20 feet away from you. For people who are not American, or for people that don't use feet, that is like 6 meters, I think. And I will let you guys know if it helped or not. I have basically finished all of the white on this section, and the only bit that's like not done is the really close bit here that is just difficult to get because of the edge of the frame. And so I'm gonna move it now so that we do the literal final bit of this project. And I actually can't believe that we're at this point, because I feel like with how my embroidery is going today, I might just out of pure excitement finish it right now. But with this energy, I might do it now, okay? But we're getting there. We're literally nearly at the end, guys. Oh my god. I'm finished. This was in the making from 2024, guys. And that was the final stitch. Okay, I'm gonna point two things out. One, my lighting is ass. Two, if you hear my dog in the background, he's trying to eat unsuccessfully and he's old. Ignore those things. Now let's actually get to why I'm here again in the living room. We have our girl Chupa. She's looking a bit rough. I may have finished the embroidery. Imagine this, picture this, okay? Use your imagination. Trust the process. This is what we're calling. And she's leaning so heavy. We will scrunch her up like this, okay? And then, I don't want this to rag like the way it is right now. And also, we've done some extensive testing with my mum for like an hour. And we've come to the conclusion that twisting it like a lollipop, where like all the fabric is on the side, doesn't look good. It doesn't make it look like an art piece. It just makes it look like I've wrapped fabric on a effing styrofoam ball. So instead, yeah, we're gonna gather it all so it looks like a lollipop, and then we're gonna make this aesthetic, and we're gonna use glue to like harden this so that it looks cute. Now the problem is the base. So the base, me and my mum are agreeing, and I say my mum because she is my like top advisor. Okay, that's where I get my main opinions from. Which I agree with her. She has said that the base and the stick are sort of lackluster in comparison to everything that this piece is, right? It's just kind of like, okay, and what? And for the base to actually make it feel like a lollipop, because this base is so lackluster, I am thinking that I might have to switch and try make a hand. And I think that this is gonna be way more effort than even, well no, I mean the embroidery was definitely the hard work, but tomorrow I'm going to go on a material run. I'm going to try find some thick foam, and I'm also going to try and find some lace that I like. I'm hoping this works, because I don't have a lot of time to like test run this. I have like 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks to get this all done. I think it's definitely manageable thanks to the fact that I finished this on time. But I'm just realizing that there's a lot of work to do outside of just having finished the embroidery, you know? The phase of unknown. Look, if all fails, I'm just hanging up the fabric on the wall. I took the time to buy some foam, and I did this very late. And because it was late, I wasn't quite in the right state of mind, and I did my maths wrong. So this is the amount of foam I've received. This is probably 1/8 of what I require to make the hand that I want to make for Chupa at the base. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what foam I needed and how much I needed, and I still came to the conclusion that this apparently was enough. You can imagine my disappointment when I opened my door to receive this package and this is what I got. When I expected something like this. Right? Before this project, I didn't actually realize how expensive foam was. So for all those cosplayers that are buying so much foam, man, you guys are so dedicated, and I just didn't realize how much money you actually spent on everything. I thought foam was like the cheap alternative, okay? Okay, there's my stack of foam. So let's get building with this. I've organized all of my foam into different shapes and sizes, but I'm going to use this ruler to make sure that everything is nice and parallel straight when I stick it together. The way I got all of this foam was by going on eBay and finding someone that was selling off their offcuts from foam that they use for whatever they need it for. This is what I used to do in university to get some acrylic plastic, because it's just a lot cheaper. I don't usually need the set cuts anyway, they're too large. So here I am again, and this is where I'm at right now. I have gotten it to about 20 centimeters, but I still need like another 20 centimeters. I went to my trusty eBay man and I ordered another box of this. That's me for now, bye, until I get my foam again and we can move on. The funny thing is that if I was just smarter about how I put the foam together, I wouldn't have needed that second box, because the amount I cut off was a whole box. I don't know if you can see this, but I have my heat cutter here, which I'm gonna test out for the first time and see if it works. I'm a bit nervous. Okay, whew. I'm gonna have to do that outside. That's so stinky. I'm not very happy with that. I'm gonna try go at it with a saw. I'm gonna do a bit of an end of day update because today has been interesting. Today is Monday the 16th. Today I stuck it all down. I managed to get it up to like 43 centimeters, which is like 2 centimeters short than what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be 45, but if I'm honest, it's completely fine. But once I got it to the height I needed it, I was like, yay, okay, time to like carve it and see what's up. And I had bought like a hot tool. I used this, which sucks if I'm honest with you. And so I was like, okay, forget it. Like I'm gonna just start drawing on either side, on all the sides of the block, so that I can start shaping it generally. And then I went to draw on it and I got my acrylic markers on it, the lightest ones I had to try draw on it. And the foam is so dense, but like porous in the weirdest way. So all of my markers just got like, and ink dried out fully. And then even when I was drawing it, I couldn't see anything properly. Like it just looked like a mess. In sort of a state of panic, what I have done is I bought a handsaw with a lot of different attachments. That's coming tomorrow, so I hope that that works. If it doesn't work, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. I have like 10 days Not even, I have 9 days. Right, today's the 17th, it's a Tuesday, and today I'm gonna get my knife, hopefully in the afternoon. I wish it came in the morning, but whatever. And right now, to make sure that we're moving forward, progressing, and not being stagnant until this knife comes, I'm gonna do the sides of everything I need to carve. So let's get going with the paper. To say I struggled throughout this entire process is an understatement. I'm gonna spare you guys the details of how I got to this point because I wanted to end myself. So this is where we're at right now. We have the most basic form of this hand ever. Yeah, I'm gonna try carve out the middle bit because that's where the holes are. This is what we're gonna be working off from the top, so let's go with that. I tried to give this cutter another chance, but the amount of foam I made was way too thick, and this was just not powerful enough, I think. I feel like I have bit enough more than I can chew, and we will see. Okay, literally. And here I am back to suffering. I don't even know what day it is anymore. I think it's a Thursday, and I just need to carry on doing this. I'm still a bit stressed, if I'm honest with you. The more I do this, the more I realize this material is really difficult to deal with. I can't use files to file stuff out, which is a problem. So everything has to be done with the saws. So yeah, I'm not losing hope. I still think I can make it look good. Let's try this. I was genuinely so exhausted and dejected by this point. Like, I did not realize just how much work this would take. Not to mention that I haven't really worked with foam up until this point, and of all things, I bought such a dense foam. Like, this was packing foam for guitars and other things that you take for traveling, and here I am using it to shape and mold and sculpt, and it was just not the right foam. But by this point I was too far. Look, it's not the best angle, but it's gonna have to do because there's no other way for me to mount this high enough. And like, big note to self, the mess that this shit makes is just insane. Like, big note to self, the mess that the shit I do to get the right angle. Hello. This was genuinely like a full body workout. I was in pain every single day doing this. I don't know what day this is of carving, but today is the 22nd. It's a Sunday. I'm in the same outfit because I don't need polystyrene all over my wardrobe. But today, I am finishing all the carving. I refuse to have to clean up any more styrofoam past today. Let's just get this on the road because I'm over it already. At this stage in the carving, I was looking at the hands and I was like, okay, it actually looks like a pair of hands. It actually looks quite good. And so I felt motivated in finishing it because I could see the progress and the improvement. Did it still suck? Absolutely. Did it still have a long way to go? Absolutely. I feel like I'm consistently at war with this fucking thing. But my aim right now is to try get through all the layers into the hole. The main shape and form is done. So now I'm gonna take a smaller attachment and I'm gonna start carving out some details. Off we go. Hello, it is the next day and today is paper mache day. So last night, just to get myself prepared a little bit, I sat and I cut up a box of newspaper. We're gonna have to pray that that's enough newspaper to cover this. But more curiously, I'm more concerned about the PVA. If it dries today, I'll paint it today. If not, it will have to be tomorrow. Let's just do it. Let's just get on with it because I'm getting fed up of this project. I apologize, I didn't realize that this was out of focus for the majority of the time that I was paper macheing. I was just like, I need to hurry up and finish this so that I can do the next step tomorrow. And that clearly backfired. I'm gonna sit in my failure because I went into today thinking I had my idea on look. that I was gonna paper mache everything and it was gonna work and it was gonna be fine. And as you can see, it's not fine. I have panicked today to try to salvage the time I've spent all day doing this. And I think I'm just gonna tear it all off and do something else because that's just how shit goes, I guess. I need to not be sad about it. So, my mistakes. Paper mache'd it, but the paper mache is not clinging to the foam. I should have known that. Because when I PVA'd the surfaces together on the bits that weren't double tape, like double side tape, they didn't stick together for days. And that should have been my sign because obviously I'm using PVA. If I bring you in, as you can see, like there's all these areas that are just sticking up and like coming off. They're just not sturdy at all. The only thing that went well was the fact that the paper allowed me to smooth out the knuckles so that it looked better. But even that, it's minimal. That's not something that I can justify leaving it on for. And so in just hopes that I can make it work, I kept going and I did the whole thing. And it just looks like ass, if I'm honest. Like, this is coming off, it's all jiggly and shit. And then in an utter state of panic, I tried to then use Mod Podge to kind of really stick it down and force it on the foam. And even that was just not working well because obviously it dries and it still feels like a casing that's not stuck. So I think I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet. I'm just gonna have to tear it off. And finally, in my failure, I decided to go onto Google and I found a really cute lady who does headwear for the Lion King stage play. My question that I typed in was how to smooth out paper mache. And she said to use drywall joint filler. But I'm just thinking, if I'm gonna use filler, which has been on my mind all day, I just don't have filler in the house. I'm just gonna use it on the foam directly because the foam is a completely fine base by itself. And I'll just be able to smooth out all the imperfections that I wanted to cover with the newspaper. And I just wasted like a shit ton of gesso on this as well. Like, I'm so annoyed at myself. So I think I'm just gonna tear it off. Do not feel like a complete failure today. I'm just going to draw out the distance around the entire circumference so that it's all equal and circular. And I'm going to be sewing on some lace on the bottom to make it all cutesy and stuff when I get the sewing machine out, which I might do today because I'm feeling so ass for wasting the whole day. So I'm gonna probably get it out today so I can at least have something to show for. But yeah, let's do that. It's gonna be a bit tedious, but I'm just gonna use my ruler and my pen. Oh god, this project is cursed. I just tried to use that double sticky back hemming stuff and it didn't stick to the fabric. And I also got the sticky side stuck on the iron. I think today's one of those days. But I need to do something to say that I've done something today, apart from make a mess, so. Oh god. So it's the return of this bad gal. I'm for real gonna end myself. I want to make this swift and as painless as possible because I am so over this entire process right now. Because the failure was so back to back, genuinely dejected is just not like even a big enough descriptor for how awful I felt in this moment. So I took it really slow when sewing this because when it comes to sewing projects, I am also well known in not having any patience and messing up a bajillion of times and having to unstitch everything. So I took it slow and it did pay off because it actually worked very nicely and it was nice and solidly stuck on there with no problems. So I could have just done that first, but you know. Having sewn finally this working, this is what it looks like with the border. And my mum lovingly said, "Що ти сказала, як воно виглядає?" Jak skater. For those of you who don't know what a skater is, it's what, like a tablecloth? A decorative tablecloth. Which, honestly, she's not wrong. But it's looking good right now. I'm gonna debate what to do with the back pieces. So like when I cut it so that it doesn't fray away for me. Okay, my workplace is like an absolute shit state. But again, just to update you so we know where we're standing. I have cut off all the excess material and now it's circular. Something was successful today. Thank God. But yes, we'll see you tomorrow with the filler where I will finish the hand. And once again, it is a new day. With yesterday's failure, today will be success. I know, I can feel it in my bones. I have to tell myself that so I don't feel bad. But anyway, it has arrived. My big fat slab, my 2 kilograms of plastering filler, and it's come cracked, so I have to work quickly. But the idea is I'm gonna use, I'm all over the place. Every day that I need to complete the project, I just can't sleep. I'm gonna use this to, you know what I mean? She naked again. Let's just get started. I want to be so done with this today. I still got to paint after I do all the filling. So actually, let me double check. How long does this take to... It doesn't tell me how quickly it dries, but I'm going to assume quickly. I'm just concerned. I'm using so much more than I thought I would for just one finger, sorry. Let alone... I'm done worrying. I feel like this is still going to go faster than everything else that I've tried. So even if I need to do another layer of this, I'm sure it will work out. It's like frosting a cake, even though I've never done that in my life before. And I'm happy I have this tool. It's looking better. It is looking better. But I'm gonna quick speed this up because we got a lot to do. Looking back, if I had more time and I wasn't in a rush to complete this for an exhibition, I would have probably done this a lot slower and a lot cleaner and nicer and made sure that the foam was really well shaped before I put the plaster on. But again, I was just trying to get this done like ASAP. I was so over it. The process was still quite therapeutic. I have never used plaster this way before, but I can see why people like making cakes now. Alright, first layer done. I'm gonna wait for it to settle so that I can get it smoother on the next run. I know that I can obviously do that with some sandpaper and whatever else, but there's still a lot of patches that I think need to be smoothed out with a thicker layer. Thank God I bought the 2.5 kilogram box because any less would not have been enough. We're moving forward anyway, so it's fine. Right, while the first layer is drying, I am gonna try deal with this. I have the embroidery all sorted, everything is nicely stitched and done. And I have found a pink ribbon that kind of goes with this quite well. I need to gather it in a way. I'm just gonna tie it for now. Okay, I think the lace was such a cute addition. It's the end of the day, again, and I haven't finished what I wanted, again. The plan tomorrow, which is the last day, is to, in the morning, once this is dried fully, hopefully, I will sand it down as best as I can. Then I will paint it. I'm gonna paint it a base coat of white. I'm gonna paint it a skin tone color. But I will see you tomorrow. It's a new day, and this morning I need to sand this down before I leave for work. And I also need to paint it before I leave for work. So I'm gonna take this table, I'm gonna take this fat hand, I'm gonna take it outside, and I am gonna sand the shit. So let's just hope this works. I don't even know. There's bits that aren't even dry, but like, we gotta move with what we have. I'm fed up for real. Tell me why the one day I need to go outside to sand, this country decides to piss rain. The wind is stronger than it has been in like weeks. Like, why? Girl, I'm so cold. My fingers are literally like numb. I'm covered in dust. The shit was flying all over my face, which I anticipated, but it was like whipping me in the eye. This project is like cursed. I sanded it like as best as I can before my hands froze off, but I think I just don't care anymore. Like whatever she looks like is what she looks like. But I'm so over it. I'll be back. It's just me and my dog. Just my dog. Okay. Just jump my dog. He's old, I guess, it's fine. Let's get to gessoing. I hope this is still enough to cover the whole thing. I need to do the inside and everything so no like black foam is... Okay, bitch. Okay, bitch. Right. My main point for the gesso, there are bits where the foam is still sticking out. So I want to make sure that that's not visible anymore. I'm saying all of this, but I just realized I don't think I have enough Mod Podge to coat this if I need to. I've just kind of given up on caring. I've just kind of accepted that this is literally what it is. I'm back from work. I don't even know what time it is right now. I don't have my phone on me. Anyway, it's late. It's like nearly 10 and I gotta stop painting. I've mixed a whatever skin color I could. And so begins the next day, which is exhibition day, and with all that was going on, because it was so hectic and because I didn't actually manage to finish painting it the night before, I had to get up stupidly early in the morning to paint, and in my panic, frustration and everything else, I forgot to film absolutely everything or anything. There's barely even footage really of the actual exhibition because there was just so much going on. So let's just rewind a little bit. So I paint in the morning, I let it dry, and then it's time to load everything up. We load it into the car and we take a drive down to Chatham. So then we get there to the exhibition space, which was called the Halpin Gallery. Because I got there super early that day, I just put up my work straight away, left it there, kind of chilled for the whole day in Chatham. There's not really much to do in Chatham, I'm gonna be honest. Because obviously the private show was in the afternoon. Yeah, I should have some footage of me there. So with all of that said, I hope you have enjoyed the video, and please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, press the notification bell, because again, I don't really upload that often, so that bell is really important for you to know when I actually do upload. And please share this around with friends and family. It really does help me if you do that. If you want to see progress videos of the projects that I'm doing, I do upload them onto TikTok and onto Instagram. They are pretty much up to date with the time frame that I'm making them in, because the videos do come out way later. Now, although I'm uber proud of this project and I can't believe I managed to finish it in the time frame that I had, especially with that exhibition deadline and the styrofoam and everything, I still think that it has a little bit of a ways to go. I'm not done with it. Yes, it was exhibited, and yes, it was done for the end of this video as well, but I think that there is more that I can do to make it look better. So I would say, if you still do love and you still want more of Chupa, I am gonna be, I don't know how soon in the future, but I am gonna be upgrading her. I want to change the hands, and I want to do some extra stuff with the lollipop stick. The embroidery, that's done, that has been the finished aspect, but I think there's ways to go. So please do stay tuned for when that comes out, and do look forward to it. Hopefully it will be an improvement, it will be an upgrade. That's the intention, as I am slowly doing a couple of upgrades to some pieces, like the cherry piece, which I will be posting that upgrade at some point soon. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.